Welcome to the Cairns Botanic Gardens Rainforest Boardwalk audio tour. The tour is marked by red numbered signs featuring the audio tour icon. These match the locations marked on the audio tour map. When you arrive at a numbered location, press play on your audio device for information on what you are looking at. Each section ends with the sound of a croaking frog. When you hear the frog, pause the audio and make your way to the next location. When you arrive, restart the audio from where you left off. Now make your way to the starting location for the tour. It is marked C1 on the audio tour map and is just opposite the interpretive shelter in the Fitzallen Gardens. When you arrive, restart the audio.
Guarded by kings. You are about to enter a remnant of original lowland swamp forest. Where you are standing is the border between rainforest and swamp forest. There is no distinct boundary. The forest types blend into one another. Can you distinguish between the two types? It is very difficult and is largely dependent upon differences in soil drainage. As you walk, we will tell you more about the features of our swamp forests. Before you venture along the boardwalk, take a look around. Here at the entrance stand magnificent kings. King ferns, that is. There are several growing quite close to the path. Although the king fern does not grow very tall, it is regarded as the largest fern in the world due to its 6-metre-long fronds. King ferns are native to this area and can be seen growing in their natural habitat in Mount Whitfield Conservation Park and along many of the perennial creeks in the wet tropics. As you walk along the boardwalk, remember to look up and down and listen for the life of the swamp, birds, frogs, and insects.
Feathers or fans? Forests are commonly classified by their ecology, in this case swamp, and their dominant tree species. Here it is palms. In far north Queensland we have two types of palm swamp forests, those dominated by palms with feather-shaped fronds and known as feather palm swamps, and those that are dominated by palms with large round pleated fronds and called fan palm swamps. If you look carefully you will see some fan palms growing along the boardwalk. But do they dominate? Look around. Are you in a feather palm swamp or a fan palm swamp? This is a feather palm swamp and occurs where drainage is restricted, which causes the area to be seasonally flooded. Palm swamps were once common in the wet tropical lowlands, but their high productive value was recognised soon after colonial arrival, and these majestic swamp forests were transformed for agricultural use. The Alexander palm is the most common palm that you see here. It grows to 20 metres in height and can reproduce at a prolific rate. At ground level you will see a carpet of Alexander palm seedlings. These masses of seedlings prevent most other plants from germinating here.
Life in a paperbark swamp. You have now moved from the palm swamp to the paperbark swamp. This area is wetter and can be flooded for up to 6 months of the year. This is an important feature of paperbark swamp environments. Paperbark trees are a species of Melaleuca and have roots that can filter nutrients and contaminants from water before it flows into the sea. Melaleucas are not the only plants in a paperbark swamp. You will also see the red beech with its flaky red bark and the climbing mangrove fern that looks more like a flowering vine than a fern. Just like the palm swamps, the paperbark swamps are another type of wetland that was converted into farmland during early colonial occupation. Swamps were perfect for agriculture, but were uninviting places to build on due to their healthy populations of mosquitoes and midges, which breed in the still swamp waters. Little insectivorous bats exploit this valuable food source. Bats eat between 1/4 and 1/3 of their body weight in insects every night, which can equate to as many as 5,000 individuals. So don't complain about the insects. Our swamps would not be the same without our bats.
Gripped by an umbrella. Look for a tree that has been surrounded by long, tentacle-like roots. At first glance, you might think it is a strangler fig that has established itself on a paperbark tree. The impressive cascade of roots actually belongs to another wet tropics epiphytic plant, the umbrella tree. Epiphytes are plants that grow on other plants. The umbrella tree here began life some time ago, when a bird deposited a seed on the upper branches of the paperbark tree. Over the years, the seedling grew, sending roots to the ground. Once the plant's roots reached the earth, the plant ceased being epiphytic, and with all the extra nutrients and water available from the soil, began rapidly growing. Unlike strangler figs, umbrella trees rarely kill the host plant, so here the paperbark tree is safe. Locally, the flowers and fruit of the umbrella tree are an important food source for birds and insects. Keep an eye out for seedlings of this tree germinating in strange places around Cairns, in building gutters, car vents, or on telegraph poles. This ability to germinate rapidly in all sorts of places enables the plant to thrive where it is not native. Further south, garden escapees grow rampantly and have been declared weeds. Not only do they displace the native vegetation, their aggressive root system can block drains and damage paths and buildings.
Strangled by a fig. Remember the story of the umbrella tree? The strangler fig began life in much the same way. A seed was deposited high in the paperbark tree. Figs need lots of light to grow successfully, and you will notice that it is quite dark down here at ground level. They use the host tree to shoot as high as they can, even breaking through the canopy in search of light. At the other end, the strangler fig's roots reach the ground and start to thicken and fuse together. The roots encircle the host tree and, over time, cut off the water and nutrient flow in the trunk. Combined with the shading caused by the fig's dominating canopy of leaves, the host tree usually dies. Often, after the host tree decomposes and falls to the ground, the strangler fig can be left with a hollow trunk. Figs are one of the most important of the rainforest trees. They fruit profusely and frequently, and many rainforest-dwelling animals depend upon them as a food source. Did you know that mighty strangler figs have very, very tiny flowers? They are made even more difficult to see by being totally enclosed in the fig fruit.
Paperbark and Pandan. This area of Paperbark Swamp is dominated by Pandanus and is called a Melaleuca pandan swamp forest. Swamp pandans can grow to 20 metres tall and can branch many times. The swamp is so wet it can remain underwater all year long. You might even see some fish or turtles breaking the surface of the water. Pandanus, and in particular this species of swamp pandan, was important to the local Aboriginal people. Small, elongated seeds were extracted from the large pineapple-like fruit and eaten. The leaves provided fibre for weaving into baskets, string and rope. The swamp pandan is also important for swamp-dwelling birds. The leaves are bordered with sharp thorns along the edges and below the midrib. This offers nesting and roosting birds a measure of protection from predators.
Thriving in mangrove mud. Mangroves are fascinating plants that thrive in a very harsh environment. They grow in waterlogged, oxygen-deficient soils. Their roots are fully immersed in salt water at high tides, and they must disperse their young on the tidal flows. Mangrove plants deal with salt in different ways. Most exclude it to some degree at the roots. Additionally, some mangroves store excess salt in the older leaves, which eventually fall. Some species even have specialised glands on the leaves for excreting salt, called salt glands, As the salt is expelled, it dries out, leaving crystals on the leaves. To overcome the difficulties of remaining stable in soft waterlogged soil, mangroves have extensive root systems. Many mangrove plants have adapted their root systems to overcome the lack of oxygen in the mud by raising part of their roots above the surface. These raised roots are called pneumatophores. The exterior surfaces of pneumatophores are covered with pores that allow air to enter and fill up spongy tissue found inside the roots. The plant uses this stored air when the pneumatophores are submerged by the rising tide. Cairns has at least 24 species of mangroves, making our city one of the most diverse mangrove habitats in Australia.
We hope you have enjoyed your botanic wander. This completes your Rainforest Boardwalk. We hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about the evolution of our plant life and what makes our habitat unique and worth conserving. There's more to explore, such as the Flecker Garden, or just ahead are the freshwater and saltwater lakes. There's plenty more to learn at the Cairns Botanic Gardens Visitor Centre. You can wander down to the Tanks Art Centre to see what's on, and don't forget the monthly Sunday markets. If you are continuing on, stop for a well-earned coffee break at the cafe before you continue exploring. Or if you are leaving us here, thank you for visiting our beautiful gardens, and we hope to welcome you back again soon.